Hi boys and girls. In this video I'm going to review how to cut some ovals and some circles. And you'll notice that I have you starting with rectangles and with squares. That's because the circle is short and round, kind of like a square is a little shorter than a rectangle. And the oval is long and round, or tall and round. Kind of like the rectangle is taller than the square. They kind of fit into these shapes quite nicely. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to take some of your rectangular pieces and pre-cut them into squares. If you can just eyeball the shape, that is fine. You can simply take and cut. If you need to measure, remember we folded these down like this last week, and then we cut off that little tab, that little extra piece, to create a really nice square. Don't forget to save your extra rectangles because we might need them next week when we make our good project. Okay, so how to do a circle. We're going to start with the square piece of paper first, and what we're going to do is we're going to round off the edges. We want to come around. Actually, let me switch colors so you can see that on camera better. We want to come around like this, and we're just going to round off those edges. We're going to make it almost the same size as the piece of paper. One thing you do not want to do is you don't want to round your edges this way, because this will not give you a circle shape. See the difference? This one looks like it's not a circle. This one actually looks like a circle. So make sure you're rounding your paper in the right direction. We hold the paper with our hand that we're not going to cut with. We always keep our fingers in. Make sure that our thumb is up. And then we're going to hold the scissors so that our thumb is in the smaller hole, so that when we're holding them, you can see that thumb as I'm cutting. And I'm simply going to round off the edges of that square. Now, it does not have to be an absolute perfect circle. Another way that you can do a circle is that you can simply draw the circle right onto the paper. As you'll see, it's not as even, but that works just as well if you're having a hard time with just cutting off the corners of that square. Remember, when we cut anything round, the paper hand does the turning, the scissor hand just opens and closes. Okay, so I'm going to take my circles and I'm going to set them aside, and now we're going to talk about the oval. The oval, we start with a rectangular piece of paper. We're simply going to round off those edges, just like we did with the circle. Don't worry about there's long flat parts to this, because when we cut them out, it's going to look just like an oval. Again, always holding thumb up, always cutting with the other thumb up. My paper hand does all of the turning. My scissor hand's only job is opening and closing. And I want to get the little last bits of that red crayon off because I want my shapes to be nice and neat looking. So here's our oval. When we're all done cutting today, we are just going to put them in with the other shapes. Next week, we're going to be putting those shapes together to make a very special project. We're going to learn about an artist by the name of Pablo Picasso and some of the beautiful artwork that he made. Okay. So again, you're going to put them either in your folder, or if you lost your folder, you can just make your own makeshift folder. Any extra rectangles that you have can also go in there. We certainly will use these scraps up. So I hope that you learned something new, and I hope that you have a nice time cutting out your circles and your ovals.